Good evening. So I'm going to do a little walking around and not going to be into film tonight on anything. We're going to talk through defensive coordinator philosophy, and more than anything, it's going to be talking about how we're going to approach situations and how I like to dig into offenses, and then also the other things I like to do with my staff, just getting prepared for the season or getting prepared for our next opponent. But we'll talk about defensive, just my philosophy, right? And very simple on defense. It's simply said, but it's harder done, right? It's do your job, right? Everybody has an assignment. You got to do your job. Our job is to get the ball back to the offense, right, and keep points off the board. So in saying this, it's very easily said, a little harder done, but you have to establish what you want out of your defense as you're coming into this, right? So perfection is not attainable, right? But if we're chasing it, we will attain excellence, or we can catch excellence, was Vince Lombardi. And that's one of the things that kind of stuck with me, because as coaches, we're stuck in this world always thinking of perfection, perfection, perfection. But realistically, like, it is very hard to be perfect, right? Even on a great play, we just watched, who was the guy from Philly, Slade, take an interception. As beautiful as all that was, him turn it back to the ball, I know his position coach can find 5 or 6 things he could do better on that play just to be a more elite football player, right? So for us, we're always looking for something to chase to be better, all right? Now, the big thing is going to be the standards that you set, all right? Going to class for us, right, it's 100% non-negotiable, right? And the reason why I'm big on this, right, we can say, you know, those guys who are, they're just not academic guys, are here for football. But how can you ask somebody to give you 100% on the football field if they're not willing to give you 100% and do everything they're supposed to do in their day-to-day life? Right? So, yeah, they might give you 100% for a little while on the football field, but that 100 is going to slip into 90. It's going to slip into 85. So going to class is a huge one for me, right? Because you got to show me you are 100% into this, just like the next one says 100% effort everywhere. When you're stamping your name on something, a piece of work, a paper you're turning in, the way that you talk, whatever the case may be, like, that's your name. That's your legacy. That's your bloodline on this earth being left here. And the way that you leave that and the way that you approach and take that is going to dictate a lot about your success in life, right? So 100% in everything that we do, right? So if you're going to do something, do it. Do it to your fullest. It might not be an A. You might, if it's a class, you might be a C student in that class, and that's okay, right? But if you gave everything you got for that C, it's worth it, because at the end of the day, as we grow into life and you become a father, a husband, you have to run a business or you're working, like, it's going to be the same thing that you get there. You got to be able to give that same type of effort and intensity. And then when you're at the top of a ladder, right, and you got people under you, those same people that you did and you worked for that way, more people are going to work for you under you that way, all right? Being early for all engagements, right, I think that's a very simply, stated one. I think every coach in America is with that. But I think the big thing is you want to be early for what your early is. So if you're telling guys to be 5 minutes early, 10 minutes early, you need to be a few minutes earlier before that, right? So getting them in that competitive mind state to want to come in and be those things, right? Understanding we're all one heartbeat, right? There is no I in this game. Somebody's going to get more recognition than somebody else. But we're a team. So at the end of the day, let's put all of our feelings, all of our selfishness aside for the betterment of the team. I might have to do this role on this play or play this position in scout team, or I might have to be a backup guy. But whatever my job is, I'm a part of this team, and you got to really instill that in as a standard. And then winning the day, right? We all don't have great days. You're going to wake up on the wrong side of bed, or maybe something bad. You get some bad news in the middle of the day, or something doesn't work for you. But you still have to learn how to take that adversity and keep working it and flip it. So you got to really push that into your guys, that even though you had a bad play, get the next one right. You had a bad moment of the day, get the next one right. It's all right. You got more time in the day to get things corrected. All right. Going into situational football, right? So most of our games on defense are won through situational football. All right. So yes, we have to stop the run. There are certain things that we're all looking at doing. We want to, eliminate all these penalties and certain things. But if we win situational football, in most cases, we are going to win the game. All right, so third down, red zone, 2 minute. I put 4 men there because there are going to be times you have to get that ball back for your offense. All right, so third down. Just walking up to it, looking, know what your opponents, who they want to get the ball to, right? point blank period, when you look across football, when third down comes around, there's somebody they want to get the ball to more than everybody else. Who's that dude, right? Locate him. What are they trying to do with him? How are they trying to get him the ball, right? Is he a possession receiver? Is he going to take the top off? Is it a running back they like to move around? Is it a tight end, right? Who is that guy? How do they like to give him the ball, all right? The next thing is going to be mixing up our coverages based on down and distance, right? So we're going to mix up our coverage based on the third down and the distance that we get with that, right? So we get third and medium. Maybe on film we showed a lot of man or we showed a lot of cover two, and we know that, right? So now it's time to mix those up, especially when you're showing that a lot compared to how you're third and long. What is it going to look like when you're trying to protect the sticks? What's the scenario of the game? But making sure you're not staying with the same one or two calls on third down. You got to mix those up, and then when the games come around, you got to mix them up as well. Specialized third down coverages, right? So when you look at some of these things, there might be, a version of cover three where maybe it is a very basic version of cover three. Right? But at the end of the day, we're going to move safeties and linebackers into different positions to confuse the quarterback. Maybe there's a certain play to go back to our first point, we'll know who they want to get the ball to, right? Maybe there's a certain play that you guys designed for that. But this is a great chance to throw that in there. It might be a 1 or 2 timer in a game for you guys, but it could be a huge game changer, all right? Understanding the pressure, coverage to structures, right? So what are we trying to do when we send pressures? Like, obviously, you want to get sacks. You want to create pressure. You want to create uncomfortableness for the quarterback, right? But what is the coverage behind that going to look like? So if we're looking at an opponent and they like to do a lot of quick slants, digs, those type of in-breaking routes, right? And we're sending pressure at him, knowing that we're sending pressure and he's going to access throws out of it. What are we going to do coverage-wise to eliminate those access throws? What are we going to try to give up in terms of getting to those access throws? So I might give away a deep out, right? But I'm going to take away these things because this is what our opponent likes to do on third down. So we're going to take away those with those specialized coverages and then also the pressures. And then mastering our opponent's tendencies. What do they like to do in these scenarios? So as we're looking at third down, there's a lot of things to dig into to get those victories. All right, red zone. Red zone is always a very unique one because, the field is shorter in length than it is in width now, right? We got 53 yards of width in the dynamic of the field, but we only got 20 to 30 yards of space, maybe 10 yards of space, whenever you look at the actual length of the field. So you don't have to worry about being super deep in coverage, but there's going to be specialized coverages in the red zone now to help fit the dynamic of the field because the field changes, so you want to fit it a little differently. So definitely want to look at some great red zone coverages. It's great to bounce off your staff. What are some things you guys done in the past, right? There have been some really good special red zone coverages I've gotten from staff members I've never seen before, right? But it's important to bounce those things and hear them out. Where do they want to attack with this? Again, so some teams are going to they like to hit the tight ends up the seam or up the middle, right? Some teams want to be perimeter down there. But you got to figure out what that team wants to be, right? And then does it fit into your coverage structure? And how can you get it to fit in that coverage structure? 2 minute. 2 minutes is huge, right? Because at the end of the day, we don't want to give up any points in 2 minutes, right? It's especially the 2 minute going into halftime where now teams can get a 14-point swing if they get the ball out of half. So 2 minutes is a big part of football. You got to understand the situation. Where are we at on the field? What do they need to accomplish to be successful here? If it's the end of the game, it's going to be very clean cut. You got to get a touchdown, got to get a field goal, whatever that is. But when it goes into halftime, it's not as clear. You just got to keep points off the board at all costs, right? So you got to understand the situation and make sure you're communicating this with the players. No administrative penalties, right? So I call those administrative penalties before and after the whistle. So jumping off sides, right? Late hits. Those are the penalties we want to get away from, right? You're going to get a PI. You're going to get a face mask. None of us won it in those scenarios. We all agree there, but that's part of the game. Like a guy playing hard might get a PI. You got to take that one on the chin. But the things we can eliminate, guys jumping off sides, right? Guys hitting late after the play, doing dumb things after the whistle. Those are the penalties you want to make sure you are not giving away in the 2 minute scenario. Winning first down. right? Keeping offenses off rhythm in a 2-minute scenario. That's a huge thing because it's about killing confidence of the quarterback, right? Quarterbacks love confidence. Offenses love the momentum. The game of football is built on momentum, right? But as we're going into this winning first down, getting them off that rhythm, getting them off their marker, now it helps us be a little better because we can create a 2nd and long situation, which could help us be at a 3rd and long situation. But if we're letting them get 7 yards on the first play of a first down, right, they just made play calling easier for them. Right now, you got to get into a 2nd and short. What does the team want to do on 2nd and short? Some teams take shots. It puts you in a different scenario. So winning first down is huge. Tackling opponents in bounds, right? None of that push out of bounds stuff, run them up the sideline and just trying to get them down. You want to get them down in bounds, right? Keep the clock running. Get them off the field, right? You want to get them in a scenario because obviously it's 2 minutes, we're winning. We want that clock running. We want them to be down. We don't want to give them any type of free timeouts. Don't lose your composure, all right? They're going to catch a ball every now and then. Something is going to happen for the offense, right? And I'm not talking about penalties composure. I'm talking about success composure where now we start looking around and pointing the finger at somebody else and looking, do your job, you got to do it. No, keep your composure. Something's going to happen. Offenses, these dudes sit around and don't do nothing but draw plays all day. We know that. Like, they scheme up. There's offensive coaches who literally draw 200 plays a week. It's outlandish, but that's what it is, right? They're going to draw some up. They're going to scheme something up that's going to work, right? But it's about keeping your composure, talking to them. How can you get it better whenever you get a chance to talk to them on the sideline and show them now we get the iPads and stuff. But this is where it's going to be. Get locked back in for the next play. And then do your job, right? And the success on pressures. We want to make sure that when we decide to call blitzes in 2 minutes, we're getting home with them. We're not just calling a blitz and now all of a sudden he's throwing the ball, they're getting 10, 12 yards and keep the sticks moving. We're going to call pressures. We got to get home. So you have to develop that mentality with the guys when it comes time for those pressures. All right, 4 minutes. B-gap sound. Most important thing, right? You have got to be there. They're running the ball. They're trying to tear the clock up so that they can get out of this thing with a win, right? They're up. They want to eat it down. No free yards, so penalties. This is where a lot of offensive linemen, tight ends, sometimes the ball carrier themselves, they get up and they get a little chippy. They get to talking to your guys a little bit. Can't lose your composure. Going back, same thing as 2 minutes, right? You got to stay. You can't give them those free penalties, no free yards. The jumping off sides, they might hard count you just to get the free 5 yards. All right, tackle opponent, but you got to get up fast, right? And these are things you just got to keep pushing on guys. You got to get up fast, Bill. The clock isn't running as much, and get lined up. Don't allow them to be slow getting off the ground, slowing, lifting you up. No, get up fast on your own. Don't wait for somebody else. Get the ball to the offense with sufficient time, right? That's the job at 4 minutes. Our job is to get the ball back to the offense so we give them a chance to win this ball game for us. Our job is to stop them so we can win it.